Yeah, so welcome everyone. I've just kind of taken out three songs by Kabir, which have been translated by Tagore, found on the web only, internet. So we'll start with this one first. Ya tarvar mein ek pakheru. So in Hindi, the topic would be in this tree, there is one bird. Pakheru is bird having wings. Uh, and if we want, we can also check out the Hindi version, but here is the English version in front of us, which I'll go through and then we'll pause and reflect upon it and share. On this tree, I'll also share the Hindi version. It will be nice to see it. On this tree is a bird. It dances in the joy of life. None knows where it is, and who knows what the burden of its music may be. Where the branches throw a deep shape, there does it have its nest. And it comes in the evening and flies away in the morning and says not a word of that which it means. None tell me of this bird that sings within me. It is neither colored nor colorless. It has neither form nor outline. It sits in the shadow of love. It dwells within the unattainable, the infinite, and the eternal. And no one marks when it comes and goes. Kabir says, O brother Sadhu, deep is this mystery. Let wise men seek to know where rests that bird. So in the meantime, I'll find out the Hindi one also, and let us just take a moment to reflect upon these lines.
Monica, will you be sharing the Hindi version also now?
Yeah, actually, it has been a difficult thing for me to find the Hindi version somehow. It's there in Google Books or some books, but I'm not able to catch that page. So yeah, because it will be nice to have the Hindi version. Just a second. Yeah, got it. Got it. Just putting it on. Yeah, can you see it? This one. या तरवर में एक पखेरु भोग सरस बह डोले रे, बाकी संग लखे नहीं कोई, कौन भावसो बोले रे। दुर्म डार तह अति घन छाया, पंछी बसेरा लेई री, आवे सांझ उड़ जाए बसेरा, मरम न काहू देई री। सो पंछी मोही कोई ना बतावे, जो बोले घट माही रे, अबरन बरन रूप नहीं रेखा, बैठ प्रेम के छाही रे। अगम अपार निरंतर बासा, आवत जात न दीसा रे, कहे कबीर सुनो भई साधो, यह कुछ अगम कहानी रे, यह पंछी के कौन ठौर है, बूझो पंडित ज्ञानी रे। So I'll put it in the chat window also, if possible. Yeah. So anyone who is ready to share reflections wants to go first.
I can share something. I don't have very deep insights or reflection, but I'll just share what I felt when I read these lines. So for me, for example, this bird to me represented that, if I can call it awareness, or that, that intuitive voice, or that unaffected self, sort of, which is always there whether I listen to it or not, which is always seeing, but so, and resting somewhere deep within and speaking to me from there. And to me, that bird seems like that voice or that part of me. And if I just, step back and I try to be with that, that part of me is always content and happy. So it's always dancing sort of in the joy of life. Nobody really knows where it is and where it sits, but it is always, I mean, the part of you which is suffering is the exterior, like this body that I feel, this mind that I know. And where it sits in the body, I don't know. And when the lines say it comes in the evening and flies away in the morning, to me represents when the mind switches off, basically. And in the dream world, um, there is an expression of the deep, sort of, whatever you've been processing through the day, and you get insights and answers, and there is no manipulation or control happening during those hours. And says not a word of which it means, because dreams are in a way coded at times. I don't know, this is what I understand. And that bird that sings within me has no form, no color. It just sits in the shadow of love. And this is basically, and all of our journey is basically trying to connect with that bird or voice within us. And this is what came to me when I read these lines.
That's really beautiful. Shreya, look at this poem, because when I was reading this poem, this also came up, in the sense I got reminded of this. So just go through this poem. All of us, we can go through this poem and see if there is a resonance, because I feel that there is something common in there. So this is a poem by Charles Bukowski. Maybe you know. I can maybe read it out. Bluebird, and it's a very famous poem. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay in there. I'm not going to let anybody see you. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I pour whiskey on him and inhale cigarette smoke. And the whores and the bartenders and the grocery clerks never know that he's in there. There is a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I am too tough for him. I say, stay down. Do you want to mess me up? You want to screw up the works? You want to blow my book sales in Europe? He was a writer. There is a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I am too clever. I only let him out at night sometimes when everybody is asleep. I say, I know that you are there, so don't be sad. Then I put him back, but he's singing a little in there, and I haven't quite let him die. And we sleep together like that, with our secret pact, and it's nice enough to make a man weep, but I don't weep, do you? So I don't know why I got reminded of this one. So if there is any resonance you may see there.
I'd like to share something. What I'm noticing, what Shreya said resonated about the first Kabir poem and then this bluebird. It's like, it's interesting how somehow there seems to be some kind of societal norm or agreement that some kind of mask needs to be put on. You know, that there is this beautiful essence inside and we all touch upon it. And yet there isn't somehow permission to just let it rip. Or perhaps ego doesn't give it permission, right? Like for Charles Bukowski, it's his book sales, for example, or his partying, I guess, when he talks about the whores and this and that. And in terms of, there's this, that it's just allowed, the bird is allowed out only in specific moments and usually when nobody else can see it. And it's somehow this larger conditioning that we all, including me, are part of, that somehow every role we play with every person, even if it's our most beloved, is still a role. It's not the essence. And it's a very interesting, bizarre phenomena. It makes me contemplate, what does it need to take to really just drop all the masks and just show up completely honest, authentic, real. And that would be that bird just allowed to always be alive, you know, and always sing. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. You know, I think we also have to realize slowly what really am I, you know, because we are so many parts and pieces. And if we notice something beautiful in us, a depth in us, why can't I let it out? You know, why can't I live from that depth which I touch, the beauty that I touch from time to time in my life? It's not possible that we don't touch it. You know? So I think there, for example, our desires, our expectations, our demands from people around and from my own self, I think as long as I will know myself as my desire, as my expectation, as my demand, and being a slave to them, I live my life. It is not possible that I allow the bird to come in front. And it, to me, it also resonates, you know, what you have shared, Shreya has shared. It deeply connects me with the coming forward of the psychic being, our true individuality, our true self, uh, which gets masked in the surface personality of full of desires, tendencies, patterns. I think there it becomes really important for me to no, am I really this expectation? Because when it is fulfilled, yeah, I feel okay for some time, but then it's not a deep content that lasts for a long time. So can I have that content? Can I have that joy which is untouched? I think Shreya mentioned on this, touched upon this word, unaffected by the ups and downs and turmoils of life. They will remain. The challenges will remain. The difficulties will remain. Even of my own nature, the difficulties will remain. But can I dissociate from my surface nature, which always immerses in desires, expectations, greed, wanting, demanding? And in that, I never ever find contentment and lasting joy. So, this, I feel this stepping back within the being, touching that bird one has to find for our own self. He's saying last line, oh brother Sadhu, deep is the mystery. Let wise men seek to know where rests that bird. So it's for individually for each one of us to find out, and touch, be in touch and communion with this special treasure that we have, all of us. Yeah. Yeah. So please, anyone who's feeling like sharing something more on this. And it's very interesting how Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about it, that this, it's an active process. It's not that, if I am desiring something, or the surface personality, the personality of my wants, demands, thoughts, feelings, sensations, the soul is active, the psychic being is active from in the background. But when it comes to the surface, it gets distorted. So I may be very generous, I but when I do the generosity, it gets masked with the ego, and then I said, that, oh my god, I give so much, why don't I get it in return? So it gets mixed up with the mixture of vital and emotions, and the ego personality, which is always feeling incomplete. So this sorting of the mixture, connecting deeply with my own self, living from those depths as much as possible. We are coming from ignorance, so I cannot demand that in one day everything is changed. It's not possible for any one of us. But can I, in at least moments of my day to day life, begin to live from the depth? As Swapna was sharing, be authentic, and one has to be shameless in that, because as you shared, that there is so much conditioning from the society also, and then the society lives in my head also. So I am also conditioned. My mind is conditioned, full of beliefs, and this is what I must be doing, this is what love is, this is what love is supposed to be, and why it is not happening, it is not happening. So can I challenge my own beliefs? Because the society sits in my head, it's not somewhere outside. My thoughts are full of conditioned thoughts, from coming from the society. So it's very interesting, this getting to know oneself, sorting the mixture that is there in our own self, and then touching this beauty within and allowing it to manifest shamelessly.
Yeah, it seems, Monica, like what you're saying, like, all these voices in my head that, society's voices that I have put and taken on, that's this, it sits in the shadow of love. Because that line had struck me, and I was like, what does he mean? And it's like that. I think it sits in the shadow. It's like all these things that are those or artificial norms or expectations that then forces the bird to sit in the shadow of love, because otherwise it is that psychic being, it is that authentic self.
That's very interesting what you are sharing. Very interesting perspective. Yeah. So it's not really open out in love, but it's in the shadow of love. What is the shadow of love? Almost, the dark side, if one can say, and it's masked under those beliefs or presumptions or whatever we may have through our conditioning. Very interesting. Yeah, Shweta.
Very beautiful. Such a beautiful book. There are times when you understand.
Can you bring the mic a little close to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, am I audible?
Better,
No,
better.
actually,
Yeah.
I think my voice was also too tired for the day. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you read it and you understand and you relate, and yet you don't know how to, like articulate it. Everything makes so much sense. And I think this is a process of a lifetime, what is mentioned in this poem, like uh, you understand this. On this tree is a bird, it dances in the joy of life. I think it starts from the time you are born. This bird within this, I think it talks about the soul or the psychic being which is born within you, which is born with you when you come into existence into this world. None knows where it is, and who knows what the burden of its music may be. You don't know when you come, what is your journey going to be, where does this bird wants, like it wants to lead you somewhere, but nobody tells you, nobody knows. When the branches throw a deep shape, there does it have its nest, and it comes in the evening and flies away in the morning, says not a word of that which it means. I think this is part of growing up, like wherever, like others lead you, like, or, you find those branches growing as per, the influences that are around you, you don't know. So it just goes there and it tries to make its nest, this being, this soul inside you. And it comes in the evening and flies away in the morning. It's like, I think, in the evening, when you're resting, this you connect to this soul. You just resonate. Something stirs in you, and as soon as the morning happens and the day-to-day chores start, and like even for a little child, the play, the actions, the involvement in the day, it just, again it just makes it, like go this little voice, which is so, like a child wouldn't even know. Nobody knows of this voice, when you're born. So growing up, I feel, you just grow like this. It says not a word of that which it means, because this inner soul, it's full of all the knowing, but it can't yet articulate it. It can't, it says not a word of that which it means. None tells me of this bird that sings within me, because yeah, it is within you, and nobody can tell you about it. It's for you to realize till, like you stay with it, and uh, try to make friends with it, and try to, have a journey with it. And it is neither colored nor colorless. It has neither form nor outline. Yeah, it is that part of you which is so neutral. It is not of this world. So, like, it doesn't have a form. It's so infinite that, it sits in the shadow of love. Yeah, so this again, like Swapna also mentioned, it has such a deep meaning, because shadow of love is also, like, it's so unconditionally sitting there, in all the experiences. And it directly resonates to which feels like love, and it remains in that shadow till it finds that authenticity or wings, to come up, or come to the forefront. It dwells within the unattainable, the infinite, and the eternal, and no one marks when it comes and goes. Yeah, so it is such a part of you. And like I said, I feel it's a process of a lifetime, like it comes and goes. And as you grow into a young adult, and as you grow into, as you move forward in your journey, you just understand that, this bird is there, and it comes and goes, and it tries to, talk to you, and it tries to make you go silent and sit, and reach that part in you. And it definitely sits in that shadow of love. And I get it when Kabir says, "Oh brother Sadhu, deep is the mystery. Let wise men seek to know where rests that bird." So yeah, you have to like. I don't even know if it's a journey of one lifetime. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Yeah. Many lifetimes, perhaps.
Yeah, it's a deep mystery.
Yeah.
But we all know this bird, right? Like this bird. Yeah, we all know this little bird.
Mm.
You know what amuses me and again, like brings back my faith in the shadow of love is, like I have really seen very dark people also have this bird, this blue bird, like the poem which you shared earlier. Like I have really seen this, people who are like so disappointed, going through so much, and so dejected, or like every kind of people that you see around, and who you also feel troubled by them, but yet you can't miss that bird in them. I have seen that, but sometimes you feel so helpless that like you can't you can you don't have the uh, uh, potential yet to make a difference in their life, but you do see that blue bird in them and you feel so helpless. And like at such times, I think, yeah, I just pray to God, to help them.
Yeah. Mother says that if we really do not touch this deeper space, and from time to time, even if not all the time, from time to time, come back to it, allow it to manifest, it actually gets enclosed in a shell, like it gets disconnected. You are just the ego, just the outer personality, and as if there is no depth and beauty in you. And I feel I can actually, it was saddening. I was just watching a documentary on, so I have not been in touch with the mainstream politics or world events for a long time. I just stopped reading newspaper. So whatever I get in touch with is through maybe Facebook, or sometimes Google knows news shows up on my phone. So many a times I click, and it was so I got I don't have the words actually. So I went through this story of what is happening in Afghanistan, for example, right now, and for many years now. And then I watched a documentary by some, on the YouTube channel. I watched a documentary on series of events leading through, the all the things happening in Afghanistan and all that. And it was, first of all, it was so painful. It was so painful that something like this can happen, is happening. The other thing was when people were talking about these people who are just invading the whole of Afghanistan and being fanatics, what they are doing. I think if you really look at them, if you see the activities they do, the kind of things they are indulged in, there it happens. I'm assuming, because Mother has also shared upon it, that if you don't allow it to manifest, it, even if it may be there, it's as good as dead, because you don't allow it to manifest. And from this age of 15, 16, people there are brainwashed, into something absolutely weird, and they just, for them it becomes the truth, and for them it becomes like a proud moment to live the whole of their life for such kind of a thing, what they do then afterwards. Even, a big, giving up their lives for such, I don't know, hideous things that are being done. So it's really amazing that Mother says that in those people who do not let it out, it is as good as the soul is dead. You can't see it. So when you were sharing it, that yes, the way we live and people we meet, we see darkness also, but we see even in darker people there is this presence of some beauty, something there. But then watching this documentary was so painful that, where is the soul? Where is the beauty? Where is the sensitivity? But then in the larger picture, if we read works of Mother Sri Aurobindo, Life Divine, Synthesis of Yoga, we see that in the larger picture, there is this almost a necessity of the evil in manifestation. Because the moment the manifestation happens from Satchidananda, separation happens, and in there, evil somehow takes form. So it's a long journey for all of us, to
It's a long journey, but also that when you know somebody like that, and you feel you're not equipped to help them while you see them suffering so much, and like you don't know what to do, and they try to reach out, but this thing just takes over. Like I've seen, like it's consumed them, and as if they're trying to reach out to God, and I've also heard people saying that God has also given up on me, like so I tried so much to help them, just seek the divine embrace, but I also feel very helpless, they're suffering so much. How to get them out of their negativity and so much poison that they know, and yet they know they want to have peace, but they're just not able to, and you see that bluebird in them, but it's so deep inside that and the irony is that only you can have a reach within. It's like how much ever others have the intention, only the person has the capability of going within and finding that bluebird. So yeah, you feel so helpless at such times, and yet you can't just see that you want to help in some way. So I always am caught up with this, and then I feel so drained at times that then I just tell God that like, okay, you help. I just seek, just pray then.
Yeah, I think praying really comes to rescue in these phases.
I mean, you really want that person to feel better, but you have no way to be that, or do that.
We were listening to a talk by Dr. Samitra Basu, and there he was sharing that how knowledge and willpower have become separated in manifestation. For example, the example he was sharing, but for example, many a times it happens that I want to do something, then I take up the decision to do something, but then 4 days into it, and then after that, I don't feel like going back to it. Maybe yoga or something. So that's because the knowledge has become separated from the willpower. Knowledge is dissociated from the will, or in other words, we can say consciousness, Sat Chit Anand. This is the basis of manifestation. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, which Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about when they say consciousness force. For them, Chit is along coupled with Shakti, consciousness force, and Ananda is bliss. So in manifestation, what has happened? Chit has separated from Shakti. Consciousness has separated from force. So I may have the consciousness that I have to change this weakness in myself, but I don't have the willpower. So this is a huge problem, all of us face. That I know, in theory I know, but I'm not able to make it happen. The knowledge is there, but the power is not there. The Shakti is not there. There comes the mother in picture. And mother has given us a golden key that you open to me, love the mother, open more and more to mother's grace, because she is the manifestation of Shakti or force, and she will do the yoga for us. So I think what can be simpler than this, to open ourselves more and more to the mother, to the divine Shakti element, so that it can descend in our life.
But how much ever you understand, as much of it you understand, it's difficult to develop that readiness in someone who's not getting it.
It is
and yet you want the like you want to help the person. But I think when you pray on behalf of them and you seek the divine mother and you ask the mother to help them, I think that is
it works. I think mother also has shared that if you want to wish anyone good, you don't have to go out and help that person, because people were living in the ashram. So many a times they will feel compelled to go out and maybe help a relative or somebody. So mother says that in the subtle level, on the feeling level, imagination level, there itself you learn to how to make a beautiful imagination, wish well for that person, wish that he is living in light, living in grace, make a beautiful formation and offer it to the divine, offer it to the mother. So there, by sitting at your own place without traveling a lot of distance, you can actually do a lot of good. But the problem that happens with most of us is we don't know how to make a good formation. We, in our concentration, we are so dispersed all the time that the moment 2 minutes I am into forming a beautiful formation and then I am scattered again. I can't really be at it. That's our issue many a times.
Yeah, I will try this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It also reminds me, absolutely, I think it's really valuable what you shared, Monica, and how there's been times in my life when I felt really depressed, like just really down, really struggling, for example, when I was divorcing. And I had a friend of mine, a really dear friend, and when I would be with her and I was talking to her, she would always remind me, when I'm with you, I don't experience you as depressed. And I myself was identifying with my thoughts, my bad story, my vitals, woes, my mind's, thoughts and beliefs, right? That were in the negative. Yet just by having this friend remind me that being with me, she didn't see that, she didn't experience me that way, it allowed that flame then to be lit. Or for me, just to even have hope that here's someone who cares about me deeply, a dear friend sitting and saying, this is not how I'm seeing you. It's so, interesting. And we were young then when I had this conversation, and the yoga was still very new in me. And she wasn't even in the yoga. And yet, just that alone, just that someone still like holding the torch for me or with me when I myself wasn't even in touch with the fact that the torch was there, and that was something I found really powerful. And absolutely, I think prayer and what one can do at the inner level, which is such a simple act, it often comes back to me. And I have that same thing sometimes when I'm with someone else who's really struggling, a friend of mine that I care about, and it reminds me like, oh, that's right. I'm not with her as a depressed person. I'm just with her as her friend, and a listening ear can be part of that, holding the space for the other to come back into their light, into their love,
Very,
into
very
this bird.
beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, very, very beautiful. Because, something within me tells me to keep holding the torch. I'm not able to just give up and, like at the cost of, it draining me, I just refuse to give up on holding that torch. And I feel so helpless. So but, I do see that even if it is for a few moments, it does help, that person. And yeah, thank you. That makes me feel, more sure of it.
Yeah, that was really powerful, Swapna, that you shared. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I also remember that when she was saying that to me, I could even say to her, like, I don't feel it. I could even still be in my story. But I see now, and as I saw then, that even after I left her, those words still kept ringing. So even when I wasn't ready myself to open the door fully somehow, or I was still holding on to my dark corner, and still, that it keeps vibrating somehow. And that's her grace. And now that we know more, or I know more, and that was really powerful about sharing Dr. Basu's message, about that the will has been separated. And it's like, yes, I see that is so off the missing link, that it's separated from my higher knowledge. And then to know that that's what needs to happen. That, okay, if I want to come out of this, then somehow to even just open and pray for, then give me the will. Then, oh, Mother, you be the will.
Yeah.
You know, and let that connection happen so that I can follow through on my own higher knowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful.
So, yeah, very nice.
You know what? Another suggestion from him was that when we focus in the middle of our eyebrows, one of our subtle chakras, let me say inner wisdom or inner vision, third eye. So he said that link your will to the divine will. Whether you believe in some other form of divine, nirgun form of divine, doesn't matter. The Shakti, mother, doesn't matter who it is that you believe in. Link your will, your personal will, to the higher will. So in case you are meditating or focusing here or otherwise also contemplating, again and again, try to offer your personal will to the higher will. That will make the connection from with Chit and Shakti, consciousness and force. Because this connection has to happen. Without this happening, we'll always suffer, keep on suffering like this. What happens with us that we know, but we cannot live it out. I know all the knowledge I have, but when I'm in trouble, I am deeply drenched in the trouble. I can't help it because there's no willpower. So connecting my personal will to the higher will, or saying that, yes, I am putting effort, please you help me guide the right way, as some of you were sharing. That connection has to happen so that the knowing becomes the living. So this was also very interesting to hear, connection of personal will to the higher will or to the universal will. Because most of the time what we are doing is mera jo want hai, what I want must happen. But what we want is just a little window. We don't even know what is good for us. So linking this, offering our own will to the higher will, linking it to the higher, that even if I have to put effort, let me, guide me that I put effort in the right direction. Okay, my ego may want this, but I don't know whether what I want is right or not. So you please guide me. I give my will to you. And then the action continuously has to take place because the effort is required. It's a lot of effort that is required. Yeah, we cannot say that, I have given my will to the divine and now he will see. That is not how it is happening. A lot of effort, active effort is required. And this, the one that you mentioned, Swapna, being with a friend who could notice, that she could see more of you and not just the depression. I think that reminded also of one of the things that I heard in Dr. Alok Pandey's talk one day, that he says that if you see a person in anger in front of you and you are stable, you are okay, guide him. Don't react to his anger. You say, he almost exaggerated it in a role play kind of a thing, that, oh divine one, this is not who you are, rise, show me your truth. So something like that, that if we can be stable at times, maybe the other one may be stable, I may be aroused, in anger or in hate or blame. So in those moments, if there is someone around or you are that someone who can not react to that outburst or happening, I think there you connect with the deeper essence of that other person, that you are not this surface thing that you are showing me. You are something more than this. So, allow me to look at your
Yeah,
that
I
divine.
totally get that. Yeah, and I keep saying that in my mind because this person I'm talking is very, very close. Like very, very. So I know that I mean, I can tell, I'm talking about my mother basically. So I keep seeing the trauma she goes through. So that is where I know that divine self in her, but for her to dig it and bring it out, she's going through a lot of mental sickness. So yeah, so I feel very helpless.
Yeah, I think, Shweta, I would say, these are the moments where we really feel helpless, where I think something more than us can happen. Because when I have the power, then I don't call out. But when I see that, oh my God, I have the knowledge, whatever power, little power I had, I have used, that has not been working well. What do I do? What do I do? Show me the way. So now these are the times, these are the special times where we can link ourselves to something higher, because we
Yeah.
don't have the power. Yeah.
Absolutely. And something in me just tells me, like you have to do something about it, you have to embrace her, and like I just know that time is less and I need to do some work on her. Just I don't know what work has to come from me, but yeah.
I think guidance will come to you only if you have the yearning, if you have the intention. Keep on seeking, and it's not possible that the guidance does not come. It will
Yeah.
come. Yeah.
See, like now we are talking, I like small, threads that just get untied, and small, yeah, breakthroughs.
Else that came to me, Shweta, in what you're saying, which is what Byron Katie often, it comes up in her work if you listen to her facilitation.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That, what is it in the end? It's like, what is it in you, right? What's the belief when there's an attack, not you as in you personally, but in one, when there's this great desire and urge to help someone, right? And ultimately, like when Katie's doing a worksheet on someone who's got a sick child or a dying child, or just something, that the other one feels powerless, or anorexia, mothers that are working with their kids. And Katie will be like, in the end, it's that turn around to yourself. So it's like, what is it that I need? I want them to see the light. I want them to feel their own torch. And just to see then that, like, oh, if I'm wanting it from the other, that ultimately it's still an ego movement to find that corner. I'm not saying it's all. Of course, the psychic is involved. There's a genuine love and desire for someone to see their own light. We love them. Yet that part that causes the pain, as opposed to the surrender to the mother, is that part of me that says, I will only feel better when you feel better. Right? And that's such a valuable piece of the puzzle of in seeing someone else's pain, where am I holding on to my own pain? Or where are the times when I could let go of my bad story and come back into my own heart? Because ultimately, there is this corner that just says, oh, I can't feel good until you're good, or I can't be fine until you're healed. And it's that dependency. Then it's that little corner of me that's still got the dependency on the other, and just to take care of that piece, that opportunity opens up in the puzzle when it honestly is that way. It's like, oh yeah, that's the pain in me. The pain is just thinking.
Yeah, I do get that. I do get that, but I think I've moved beyond that long time ago, and it's just to make her suffering little less, so that is the pure intention. It's not out of attachment, but out of a larger realization, because out of attachment you also go through many things which are, yeah, it's your own journey with pain and all. It's beyond that, like, yeah, you do get it, so you want to just help the person, so yeah.
Yeah. Krishnamurti also talks about, so he used to talk to these children, younger children, and he would talk to them about sensitivity. And he would say that be sensitive. As adults, we lose this sensitivity. That I remember one day, Chinmay came home crying from his fitness class, my elder one. And I asked him, that what happened, did somebody say something to you, or what really happened? He said that इतना बुरा हुआ कुछ कि मैं आपको बता भी नहीं सकता. Something so bad happened. And then I asked him that what really, what could have happened? I really started to have weird imaginations. And then I slowly convinced him to talk about it. And he said that I saw, rote, he told me that I saw a little ant trying to climb up a stair.
Oh.
And then she was falling down and trying to falling down. And that made him cry, that poor fellow. So again, we talked about it. Beautiful. Yeah, I was really amazed at the sensitivity he had to look at the little ant which we don't care for, when we are walking, so many ants may cross us by. And he's looking at the ant, looking at the movement, and he's also very sensitive to what the poor fellow may be going through according to him. And Krishnamurti talks about keeping this sensitivity alive. He says that it's good to feel this sadness and pain, because this is what separates us from stone, and we are humans. But at the same time, if I myself suffer, then I cannot be of help to the other. I think that's what Swapna was pointing at, the little piece of the puzzle. But you were sharing that that's not the case, and it's something more, in the larger view, that we want everyone to grow and progress and be happy, and content in their life. Yeah. Out of love.
And like, as in how you grow, you understand that where where you could make it better, you haven't. So with that realization, and like how that you can do better, you do better when you know better. So yeah, I always keep saying that you do better when you know better, because that's been the journey. You do better when you know better.
Yeah.
So with that understanding, like
Shweta, this what you shared, I also use this very often for my own self, that I would do better if I know better. No, but now I can add something more to it. What I was sharing, Dr. Basu's thing. So it's not that I don't know better. I just cannot will better. There is not, the will is not there. So I just connected this right now, while we were talking, that the knowledge is there, the intellectual knowledge is there. But the power or to effectuate it, to make it happen.
Oh yes. I totally
That's what is missing.
Yeah, absolutely. The will which you're talking about, and the will also, because you need to feel empowered to do something,
Yeah.
So that empowerment, you like you get it when you get it as you work on yourself. So yeah, it's such a combination. So true.
Great. Beautiful discussion. Yeah. So anything on this, or shall we take another one? We may have
love.
Yeah. Yeah. And anything you want to share, Chikiji?
Love is the only space you can occupy. If one wants to change anyone, it can't be by telling and can't be by knowledge, and everyone is in their own journey, and everyone will take in knowledge the way they take in knowledge. It is not for us to impart it. The only position when we want something good to happen from someone else is to have an interaction of pure love.
Pure love, absolutely.
It cannot be any way that I know, so I should impart. That's all very altruistic. When we don't have, how do we give? And if we can occupy that space of love, that's the only space that will change anybody. No words, no explaining, no drawing them out, no shoving knowledge down their throat. It doesn't work. It can only be through love and complete patience.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
I totally get that.
Yeah. I think that just brings us back to where we started reflecting upon this. Our true being is the being of love. So without getting in touch with my own truth, my own true beingness, it's not possible for me to be a receptacle of love. What Chikiji was sharing, what Shweta was sharing, that if I really want to transform, and love is the transformational power. Mother Shri Aurobindo also shared that love is the only power. And Chikiji was also saying that not knowledge, not anything else, but love. Love is the power of transformation. But when we talk about love, again, there can be such a discussion on it, that what do we mean by love? And it's said that when things went wrong in manifestation, when the divine sent out the powers to manifest the creation, love became hate, bliss became suffering, everything turned into its opposite. And then to save the manifestation, to evolve the manifestation, divine came down, descended as love. This, and that's why our true being, our essence, psychic being or the soul or whatever we may call it by any name, that beingness is what love is. So if I am not truly in touch, and which may take again lifetimes of sadhana, truly knowing ourselves, living ourselves, our true being out, I think more and more we are shown, the more we get in touch with ourselves, we become more kinder, more compassionate, more full of love. And if that is not happening, then it's no progress. Again, Kabir ji says, prem prem sab koi kahe, prem na chine koi, aghat prem pinjar base, or prem kahave soe. And this that is hiding, this bird, the pakheru that we were talking of, it's hiding, almost masked in our own self under the burdens of conditioning. Can we allow it to unmask so that it does the work what it has to do? And it's very effortless work. Then when it comes out slowly, gradually, the love unmasks out. What Chikiji was sharing, only that has the power. Love has the power to make all impossibility into a possibility. I think that's really very powerful. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Very beautiful,
yeah.
Very powerful. Yeah.
Great. So shall we take one more?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So let's yeah, I think let's take this. This is really nice. So valam avo hamare gehre. So again, I'll read it in English. I'll see in the meantime if I can find Hindi. Translated by Tagore, this song by Kabir. My body and my mind are grieved for the want of thee. O my beloved, come to my house. When people say I am thy bride, I am ashamed, for I have not touched thy heart with my heart. Then what is this love of mine? I have no taste for food. I have no sleep. My heart is ever restless within doors and without. As water is to the thirsty, so is the lover to the bride. Who is there that will carry my news to my beloved? Kabir is restless. He is dying for the sight of him. So let's take a pause and then we'll share our reflection.
Monica, I can't see this reflecting on my screen. So I don't know if my laptop, I mean, it's something wrong at my side, internet issue.
Acha, can the others see? I'll put it in the chat window for you. Yeah. So I have also shared the Hindi version in the chat window. I'll just read it out. बालम आओ हमारे गहरे, तुम बिन दुखिया देह रे, सब कोई कहे तुम्हारी नारी, मोको लगत लाज रे, दिल से नहीं लगाया तब लग कैसा स्नेह रे, अन्न न भावे नींद न आवे, ग्रह बंद धरे न धीर रे, कामिन को है बालम प्यारा, जो प्यासे को नीर रे, है कोई ऐसा पर उपकारी, विवासो कहे सुनाए रे, अब तो बेहाल कबीर भयो है, बिन देखे जिव जाए रे. So beautiful lines actually. So let's share whenever we are ready. So anyone who feels ready to share? Purnima ji, if you want to share, you haven't shared so far, anything, any reflection on this? Or anyone else, whoever feels ready?
May I say something, Monica?
Yes, please. Yeah.
You know, I think for myself, I can only speak for myself. I think, you know, I am so involved in the I story and the me story, and the world revolves around just me and I. We've actually forgotten God. And Kabir speaks, you know, whenever he's written and he's spoken, it's from the depth of our souls that we need God, and we don't realize that. We call for him only when it's really tough. When I can't do it anymore, then I'll say like, ah, Ma, ah, Bhagwan. We actually never call for him. Instead of actually waking up every morning and asking him, what does he want us to do for him today? How can we be of service to him today? We're always looking at him and saying, okay, now what can you do for us today? We just don't manage to make God the center of our existence. We live with us being the center of our existence. God only is called upon when we're in trouble. It's like Baki, it's like I'll do it myself. And I think that's what Kabir keeps trying to tell us, is to make him or her or it the very source of the fact that we wake up in the morning and take our first breath. We never ask God, what would he want of us today? It's like, this is what I want from you now. How about paying up? I think that's one of our greatest follies. And which makes us feel that God is, I don't know where, does he even exist? He's not close, and we need to bring him into us, into our lives, sitting there and actually guiding each day, each moment of our day. And that's something we, of course, the ego just abdicates, takes us away and abdicates the space that we need to occupy, God needs to occupy. I think that's, I keep feeling this for myself all the time. Why can't I keep asking? When I'm doing something, even with we were talking about earlier, a mother. I have a very difficult mother. And I can keep flying off the handle like forever, in spite of knowing her age, in spite of, knowing everything, that knowledge is sometimes it doesn't make it possible. And my need comes from that. Can I have her the way I would like to know her or have her as a mother? I forget that that's her journey, and God is in charge of her as much as he's in charge of me. And all, like I was saying earlier, all I can really do if I occupy that space which God would like me to occupy is just actually love and patience. Why do I need to have her the way I need to have her? That's conflict. That's where the ego sits. And then the ego just endlessly causes conflict.
I think that's really beautiful. And the voice of cricket in the background is also really beautiful. Very mild voice. Yeah. I think what you shared is so beautiful and powerful. It also almost seemed like a prayer when you were sharing it. Would be so beautiful, and sumiran, remembrance, what you were pointing at. If you could just, we all could just remember to offer our life to the divine, each moment of our life. I think that's what is required, and to put him at the center and not ego as the center. I think that would be so remarkable, phenomenal, and that is the only thing required of us. Seems easier said than done, but I think it's only baby steps that we progress. And once we have taken a central decision, slowly the detailed process also happens, gradually. Very powerful what you shared, very powerful. And I think when the suffering comes, when conflict comes, it just tells us as a signal that again I have put the ego at my center, center of the world. I think that's just a signal, beep, 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 ego at the center, suffering comes. I think it's a beautiful signal that has been given to us, because if ego would be at the center and I would not suffer, then ego can continue as long as ever. But if the ego is at the center and I have more and more conflict, the conflict rises, the suffering rises, the pain increases. I think that's so beautiful a signal that, hey, time to press the reset button again, time to put the divine as at the center again. That's really beautiful if one can do it again. And we have no choice actually, because no one likes to suffer.
It's a constant practice,
Constant.
It's every moment of every day in our interactions with everybody.
Yeah.
There is no other way. Like in the Gita, they say he's got 26 divine qualities. Okay. Now, for us to get 26 divine qualities, when I look at myself, it's like, okay, this is like climbing Mount Everest. I cannot get 26 qualities of the divine into myself. But again, like he says, if you pick up one of them and stick to it without ever letting it out of your sight, the rest of them automatically follow. We just make it look so hard that it's like, okay, I don't really think I'm up to this. But if we adopt even one of those 26 qualities he talks about in the Gita, the rest, he himself says, Ma says that the rest of it will follow automatically. But we need to adhere to that one quality we decide on. We make it look very hard and it's like we're doing something really mammoth. No, we're not. It's not such a hard task. We just need to stick to one. That's all. The 26 of them will automatically come into our lives and flow into our being if we can just adhere to that one quality.
Yeah, beautiful. I think this adherence is what we were talking of earlier, that sticking to what we decide. I think that makes all the difference. And although you were saying that, we make it appear so hard, but it's hard for us. But again, we have no choice but to take the baby steps. There is no other option that we have. Yeah. And even if so many times we may slip an infinite number of times. The only option that I have to rise up again, dust off my pants and get again.
Walking again on the same path. I mean, it can happen 20 million times in a day. Absolutely. It doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't make a difference. What makes a difference is you get on the track again.
Yeah, and just keep walking. No matter how many times we slip, it's ours. The effort is there. The earnestness to stand up and walk again is all we really need. God does the rest for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally with you. Beautiful. So anyone else, any sharing on these few lines which are in front of us? No, in the last line he says, Kabir is restless. He is dying for the sight of him. Now, yearning has been given a lot of priority in mystic tradition, that if a yearning is there in a human being, only then he can be called a human being. Why? Because the purpose of being human is the union with the divine consciousness. And if I don't wake up to this yearning, how will I unite? So unification, it's not that there is divine somewhere else and I have to unite like this. It's not like that, but I have to shed my ignorance slowly so that I know who I am truly, the divine consciousness, who we are truly. So it is journey from ignorance, shedding layers of ignorance to know who we truly are. That's what we call as union with the divine consciousness. So it's beautiful to have the yearning, and Kabir is yearning. Are we yearning? Because if I'm not yearning, how would I even make one step in that journey? And I think our pains, our troubles, they make us yearn. That's the best thing they do. Because if I'm comfortable in a very good life, why would I yearn? I have everything. So this discontent that happens when things do not go the way we imagine them to, and the pain that happens, the suffering that happens, I think that's in disguise. It's such a big blessing.
The greatest blessing.
Yeah. It puts us on the path, what we are here to do, puts us on the path. Yeah. And mystic tradition, human beings have called Nari. I think I remember one anecdote where some saint was there in the town, and Meera came to visit that town, that saint, and he said that, "Oh, you are a lady. What are you doing here? In our spiritual circle?" And she said, "Oh, I wonder, because I thought in spiritual tradition everyone is a lady." So yeah, so we are all as if aspiring ladies, waiting for this union with our beloved, who is the the divine consciousness. And that's what the reflection that we see here, that what is this love of mine, and people say, I am thy bride, but I am ashamed because I have not touched you. I have no experience of who you are. How can I call myself a lady? So I think it's almost lanat on us as for being human, because if I do not have this yearning yet developed to grow more and more in divine consciousness, to unite more and more with my own truth, my absolute truth, what's the meaning? Purposeless, my birth has gone waste. I think that's what Kabir says in many couplets, that your birth will go waste. Wake up to your truth. Don't waste much time. And the purpose of human existence, again, not me saying, many masters, mystics have again and again come and told us, unite, grow in your consciousness, unite with the divine consciousness. And it's a social responsibility. It's not my personal problem. It's a social responsibility. Because if I do not grow in my consciousness, if I do not turn towards the divine, I will forever remain an insensitive person, and the world will be insensitive. So it's not my personal issue. It's the responsibility. I owe this to the world around me.
No. I think that's where we get a little confused.
Yeah.
I owe this to myself, because only when I change will the world change. It's
Absolutely.
only when my view of, when my view changes and my outlook changes, that the world outside changes.
Yeah.
My responsibility is not to change the world. My only responsibility is to change. I'm only responsible for myself.
Absolutely.
Because the moment I grow, my vision grows, and the world around me also grows in proportion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depending on how integral the growth is within me.
Bilkul. I think Mother and Sri Aurobindo also say that if you make one baby step, maybe you have overcome one little weakness in you. The ripple that it spreads, since we are all connected, you don't even know, and there is a change in people around you. You don't even realize it.
And it's not really that's the amazing part. It's not really a change in people around us. It's the way we view people around us. And when that changes, everything changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because each one, for me, each one's journey is their journey with the divine.
Yeah.
I'm not there to finger it and, change it and ask you to now turn towards God and, because I've seen the light. No.
Yeah.
It's for me, it is to acknowledge the fact that you have your independent journey with God. And mine is my journey with God.
Yeah.
And if I can shift inside myself, then I automatically start viewing the world differently,
Absolutely. Yeah. I think once we were sharing this, that it's almost like being one drop of poison less, because the way we see, that's where I was hinting at when I was sharing that when we look at the world, usually in our ordinary state of mind, we see that, oh my God, so much cruelty, so much violence, so much wars, what is happening? Why so much of insensitivity? But then I see myself, and I see the same insensitivity in a different proportion within me. And that's what you were hinting at. I believe that the change does not have to happen there first. The shift has to happen within, and that's what will make all the difference, if it makes any difference at all. Because it just changes, the worldview changes, as you were sharing. And there are, again, many other things which we don't want to go in. The matter is so deep. The mystery is so great that whatever words we talk about, it's really nothing in front of what we can really understand here.
I feel, we understand this, but when it comes to experience, Chikkiji, I would like to know from you. So when you say that, when I change, the world within me changes, yet, and it changes, but again, it is these stirs and, these churns are again with the interaction with the world only, like I'm changing, a world is changing, somebody else is changing. So I don't know. It's practically, it just feels like, yes, you change within yourself, but also we are so much, I would say, like, we help each other to, like, bring that change. Like, see, if I have to change and my views have improved, I also find people around me who, with my readiness for more, I will have challenges which nudge me to change even more. And as I change, I understand that it's my duty to thoda, because of my changed worldview, and like, so nudge. That's how, like, I do get it that at one level I change within me, and so my world changes. But also I feel it is so interconnected and layered with my world that, it's happening parallelly to everybody. And as in how, I rise in my consciousness, it's like again the stirs and the churns and going through all this, it keeps happening. So uh, I
Those
don't think it's easy, but like,
those stores and those changes are for you alone. The world reflects back to us. Again, this is the way I look at life at this point of time in my life, that the world really reflects back to us what we have within us. Okay. You were talking about your mother and wanting her to change and wanting her life to get better. And from that space, you wanted whatever it is you wanted your
it's
mother
just
to
that,
change.
just suffer less, that's all.
No, suffering is in each one of the reason we're here is to suffer, because we have done so much in our last lives and many lives before that we have very little goodness that comes back to us. Really, when we look at, let's look at life today as it is. I have had a very difficult relationship with my mother. Okay, I mean, it is unreal at some levels. Now, my whole story all this while has been, why can't she change? She's a mother, she's da, dee, do, dee, da, and the whole story is within my own head. Now, if I can't sit, she's old today, okay? And if I can't just sit and let her work, see, my need to change her puts a hell of a lot of pressure on her. And for me to put pressure on anybody else to live the way I want them to live is so incorrect. The only way I can actually do it is, to let it all pass. Whatever she's doing, whatever the behaviors is, as insane as they might be or not insane, I look at them as insane. I need to change that space within myself. That if that's her journey with the divine, then the divine will help her. No, I'm not in charge. Like, I'm not in charge of my mother. I'm not in charge of my son after a certain point of time, or my daughter, or a friend of mine. It's their individual journey with themselves and with God. God is in charge. Now, why am I becoming in charge? Why do I have to have my mother change? Just so that it makes me feel better, that she's changed and she's happy. That may not be the space she will occupy this life. That may not be the relationship I will have with her in this life. So I really need to let go and say that God's in charge. No, I'm not in charge. Just because I'm making these very tiny steps within myself, to myself or to the divine, that doesn't change it for everybody, does it? Just because I'm changing, that doesn't mean that you're my son or you're my husband or you're my wife or, whatever relationship I have with you, that you need to change automatically. When I can sustain that change, when I have actually changed within myself and can sustain it, that sustenance will automatically bring a change in the other person. Because I've stepped and taken 2 steps into infinity, doesn't mean everyone else needs to change. They have their own journeys. They've lived many lives before you and me and them. We've all done those many lives. Where is the need for us to want it to be the way we want it? See, the ego's still there, no? I want it because I've changed, now she should change. Why? Why? She has her own journey with the divine. She has her own journey with her own soul. Who am I to want to change it and hasten it or reduce it or whatever I want to do with it? Why? Why can't I just be satisfied with the changes I am making within myself? And I find it so hard to change myself. When I find it so hard to change myself, why am I expecting someone else who's my mother and has lived in a pattern for so much longer? Why do I want her to change? Why can't I just concentrate on myself and leave the world because God's in charge of the world? I'm not. Whether it's, like I said, any of my relationships, they're individual souls with their own journeys. So why do I want it to be the way I want it to be? Suffering is for each one of us to bear on our own. We can have a compassion for someone and then be silent or be gentle or be kind. But that's all we can do, is just give another person an ear that they can offload without judgment. Can I just stop judging everything? Why is she not the way I want her to be? I mean, come on. Who the hell are we, man? When you look at the whole globe, look at us as one single speck that cannot even be seen. But look at our egos, man. It's like, I want her to change. I want her to change for her happiness. Are they? Sorry, I've taken off.
No, it's
I
a
think-
little different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay, yeah.
That's okay. And I think the matter it's a complex matter. Had it been a very simple matter, the matter of life, so many scriptures would not have been written, so many avatars would not have come. But the thing is that the matter is complex and at the same time very simple also, sahaj also. But then each one of us goes through.
Absolutely. We all have our own journey.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
We have to
I
trust
think
the journey. Yeah.
what, after this discussion, what I want to really touch upon, just kind of concluding it in the context of what we were sharing, what we crave for example, if I want someone to change for their own good, if I ask myself, okay, what would I get if they change, for example? And it's beautiful to expect change. I think change, if you expect, love someone and you expect something good for him, I think
No. The divine, expectations are what messes it all up for us.
Just let me
Sorry,
share.
sorry. I
Yeah.
apologize.
No,
I
I'm
apologize.
absolutely with you what you were sharing, but I just want to conclude it in a manner which is more synthesized and not contradictory. So what is happening is, if I ask myself, what will I get if that person, whatever, changes for good? If I ask myself this question, the answer would be, I would feel good about it. I will feel content. There would be joy within. So what we are truly wanting, all of us, that was just an example I was sharing. It was not that I was for or against anything. Whatever I am truly wanting, I'm actually wanting because somewhere there is a belief in me that it will give me joy. It will make me feel more content that I am presently. So what we are truly wanting is not that person to change. What I am truly wanting is to have this joy, to have this contentment. And I think there comes the poem in front of us again. Whenever we talk of divine, we talk about Shanti, we talk about progress, we talk about lasting joy, Satchit Anand. We talk about that. So if I am craving for a job today, I'm actually not craving for a job. Because if somebody tells me, okay, you will get this job, but you will be miserable, I will say, no, I don't want that job. So what I am truly craving for is inner joy, inner contentment, and more of that, and that's where the divine comes into picture. I don't want the person actually to change. I want the inner joy and contentment, because if somebody tells me today, yes, your mother may change, your father may change, your sibling may change, but your life will become miserable, would I still want that change? I will have my second thoughts. So when we talk about the divine and the other synonyms that we use, again giving a little reflection here, that the words that we use for the divine is Shanti, peace, कि उनकी आत्मा peace में चली गई, लीन हो गई परमात्मा में लीन, परम शांति में लीन हो गई. So all that we crave for in our life is for more and more contentment, lasting peace, lasting joy. And the joys that we have, they don't last. The contentment that we have, they don't last. And I think this is where we again come back to the journey of human life, which is striving for more and more beauty, perfection, joy, limitless joy, Satchit Anand, uski taraf jo union of towards divine consciousness. Without that, our life as a human being is purposeless, wasted life. So I think all of these struggles that we were sharing here, they are blessed struggles, whether they are related with our family or with my own self, because these are the struggles which are making me strive forward. And if they are making me strive forward, I think it doesn't matter whatever the trigger is. The trigger is enough. Trigger is enough. The divine has played his Leela. I think that's where I wanted to share like a synthesis of all our struggles. And Sri Aurobindo and Mother also shared that truth is all encompassing. So even seeming contradictory point of views, they come together,
I wanted to add, it's like contradictions are actually the best thing for us.
Yeah.
Because it makes us dive deeper.
Yeah.
It makes us question ourselves. So contradictions are never a bad thing.
They are good.
They're like the best thing. It's like getting kicked in your butt.
Yeah. And I think
because it makes us question, it makes us dive deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I agree.
I think contradictions are the best. It's God's way of kicking our butts in. It's like saying, come on, think deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what Sri Aurobindo has done. I can't help but mention his name here, because in Synthesis of Yoga, what has he done? He has brought all contradictory views, pulled up the beauty from all the views and put it together in a synthesis. And this happens on the highest levels of our consciousness. And that's why, wherever there is a meeting or a discussion where people are still together, even after having contradictory views and discussing them, extrapolating, learning from each other, I think that's where we grow. As you were sharing, as Shweta was, agreeing on it, that's where we grow. Otherwise, we fall back into our comfort zones again and again. So I think it's a beautiful opportunity. Nindak nire rakhiye, angan kuti chhawaye. So beautiful opportunity to have diverging point of views and still be there.
Oh yes,
reflecting
yeah,
and-
yeah. That's how like we've all grown, right? Like, yeah, because of contradictions, because of questionings. Yeah, that's a reason I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all like grown in life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah.
And
that
I
is
think
good.
I would call this as love. There's, yes, so many contradictions may be there, challenges may be different, and yet we are reflecting here together, and this is what is manifestation of love, what we were pointing at earlier. So I think that was a very powerful, and for me at least, it was a very reflective and powerful session. And thank
Yeah,
you.
same here. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shweta, Chikki ji, all of us, Purnima and Veena ji, for listening. And
Thank you everyone for
Thank
being
you.
around.
Thank you. Bye bye.
God bless. Gemma.
Bye bye.
Very, very
Bye.
nice.
Thank you, Purnima ji. Bye bye.
Bye.